Hello, everybody. We're going to talk about Brazil and the areas of high population density. The aim of this lesson is to identify high population densities on a map of Brazil and to analyze the reasons for such a distribution. So, let's start. What do you know about Brazil? You might have seen this photo before of Rio de Janeiro. You might have seen the flag. You might know that the Amazon River passes through Brazil, and there's also the Amazon forest. And you might even know of some famous footballers that are Brazilian. Brazil is the largest country in the continent of South America and is found here. Let's look at some maps of Brazil. This map, made in 2010, shows the distribution of people living across Brazil. Every one dot is 10,000 people. We say that the areas where there are many dots, or rather many people, are densely populated. This next map is a topographic map. It shows the relief of the country, the rivers, and the shape of the land. Rivers are shown in blue, and mountains and higher areas are shown in yellow and dark brown. So look at the population distribution map. What do you notice about areas along the coast? Many people live along areas near the coast. Let's see why. First of all, the climate is hot and wet. There is enough flat land for cities to grow. If we use Google Earth to zoom in on an area of the coast in Brazil, we'll see this. We can see the coastline, and we can see a number of cities over there, 3 coastal cities. You can see that there's an area of flat land where the cities can grow eventually. Then you'd notice that the land gets steeper and there are mountains and highlands. Although the flat land is very good for cities to be built, they are limited due to the mountains. Since the climate in this area is hot and wet, the amount of rainfall is reliable. This allows people to grow crops and use the water. In these coastal areas and cities, there are a range of natural resources. If we look at this resource map of Brazil, we can see that Brazil produces many different resources, from coffee, cocoa, sugarcane, cotton, even rice, tobacco, rubber. They also mine for iron, diamond, and coal, and have a number of different industries. If you look at this map of Brazil, you will clearly notice that most of the industry is located in the southeast part of Brazil. This area, apart from having a large range of natural resources, also has the best transport systems and services. And the cities that are here also have the best government help. This encourages people to move to these areas and live in these areas. Let's look at some cities now. We're going to look at Rio de Janeiro, which is in the southeast, Salvador, which is to the east of Brazil. Looking at the topographic map, you can also see where they are. Why do people live in these cities? Originally, Salvador was the first capital city of Brazil, and later on, Rio de Janeiro became the second capital city. Both of these coastal cities have good natural harbors. This is Rio de Janeiro. In Rio de Janeiro, 6.7 million people live. Rio de Janeiro is the second largest city in Brazil. Salvador is the fourth. Because these two cities were built around good natural harbors, this encouraged a lot of trade, immigration, industry, and tourism. This is part of the port in Rio, the city of Salvador, which has 2.8 million people. In Rio de Janeiro, there are a number of multinational companies that have opened their headquarters over here. Due to the good natural harbours and brilliant port facilities, many of Brazil's exporting and importing companies are found in Rio. In Rio, the government has also designated certain areas to encourage industry. Apart from having a lot of trade and industrial activities in Rio and Salvador, both cities also encourage a lot of tourism. Let's look at another two cities. There's Sao Paulo and Belo Horizonte. Looking at the topographic map, you may already start to realize that these cities are on higher ground. So why do people want to live there? Sao Paulo is the largest city in Brazil. 12 million people live here. In total, around 30 million people live in the surrounding areas of Sao Paulo. This city is the world's 12th largest city. Belo Horizonte is the 6th largest city in Brazil and holds 2.5 million people. The area of Belo Horizonte is higher up. That means the weather is cooler than it is close to the coast. This makes it more pleasant to live. Around the cities of Sao Paulo and Belo Horizonte, there are very fertile soils. These are good for the production of coffee. Surrounding these areas are also many minerals such as iron ore and even energy supplies like hydroelectric power. The coffee and minerals both provide many jobs and at the same time can be sold abroad for income. Let's look at Brazilia. Brazilia is an anomaly. An anomaly is something you would not normally expect. Brazilia is found over here, in the middle of the highlands, and this is the capital city of Brazil. As you can see, Brazilia is quite densely populated. Let's see why. This is a satellite image of Brazil. In the 1950s, the Brazilian government realized that the largest cities were found at the coast, and the southeast of Brazil was starting to become overpopulated, and the cities were becoming too large. So in the 1960s, they decided to build a new capital city and call it Brasilia. Previously, this area was covered in trees and vegetation. However, over a period of 3 years, everything was flattened out and new buildings were built. The aim of placing Brasilia where it is was to spread out Brazil's population so that it is not concentrated along the coast and along the southeast. Over here we can see some photos taken in the 1960s when Brasilia was being built. Many construction workers came to the city, built it, and ended up living there after it was built. This is what Brasilia looks like now. As you can see, all the houses and streets are neatly planned out. The lake you see was also man-made and was built to regulate the climate and to increase the amount of water available in the area. Brasilia now has a population of nearly 2.5 million, and this is what it looks like. Many people live in this city and are attracted to this area because it is the capital city. The last city we're going to look at is Manaus. The city is located in the north of Brazil. You can also look at it on the topographic map. It's right next to the Amazon River. Using Google Earth, we can look at the area the city is found in. You can see that there's the Amazon River. You can see the whole area covered in trees. This is the Amazon rainforest. If there are so many trees, why would anyone build a city over here? Manaus is a large river port. This is what the city looks like. The river is used to export and import goods. In the late 1800s, when the Industrial Revolution was going on in Europe, Manaus became a center for rubber collecting. Many wealthy European families settled in Manaus and brought their European art, architecture and culture with them. During the Industrial Revolution, natural rubber was only found in the Amazon basin, and it was sold at a very high price. The rubber industry created many jobs and encouraged a number of people to live in this area. Since Manaus was a city of exporting and importing and migration, this encouraged a growing tourist industry. Manaus has many different activities that you can do. Final check. Match the city with one of the reasons it is densely populated. This map is there to help you. Four cities are Manaus, Rio de Janeiro, Brazilia, and Sao Paulo, and these are the reasons. Pause the video and allow yourself 2 minutes to work them out. When you're done, press play and check your answers. Okay, so the reason Manaus is densely populated is because it is close to the river, which they use for trade and transport, industry, and even drinking and cleaning. Rio de Janeiro is densely populated because it has a good harbor. It also encourages tourism, good industry, and even trade. Brasilia is densely populated as it is the capital city, and most of the administrative and government services are found over here. Finally, in the area of Sao Paulo, there is very fertile soil for coffee, and there are also many different minerals, which encourages people to work there. Okay, remember, geography is everywhere.